Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar where we'll be talking through some recent updates to our employer reporting and analytics suite. My name is Sharif Ghanem, and I sit within our product marketing team. Before I turn things over to our host for today, I wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. First off, you are all on mute, but we'd still love to hear from you. You'll notice a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to drop questions into that window, and we've set aside plenty of time at the end of the webinar for questions. Second, if you have colleagues who had hoped to join but couldn't make it, no worries. We'll be recording today's session and we'll make that recording available for sharing. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our host for today, Hope and Kavi. Hope, please take it away.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Hope Craig. I'm the Vice President of Client Success here at Collective Health. Each of you who's on the phone with us today works with somebody from our Client Success team, and our team is really driven to deliver on your experience as our clients and our partners in the consulting and brokerage world to deliver on that amazing experience for you, and really to help you all drive to your specific success metrics for your plan. So I'm joined today by two people who can speak quite passionately about the work that we've done to build products and tools. And in particular, today, we're going to be going over the employer portal. And I'd like to turn it over to Kavi to introduce himself and his role in this work.
Thanks, Hope. My name is Kavi Goel. I'm a Director of Data Products at Collective Health, and I led the team that's been working on our employer portal update that you all called in to hear about today. So I'm happy to join you.
And of course, Sharif, you've joined us, and you're so articulate in being able to talk about what we've designed and what it means to our clients. So thank you for joining as well. First, I wanted to, before I go into what we're going to cover today, I did want to let you all know who is on the webinar with you today. Not specifically, but generally speaking, we have a number of our clients, both long-time partners, and advocates, as well as new clients, and we're thrilled that you've joined today to hear what's going on with our refresh. We also have a large number of our consultant and broker partners, so we think it's a perfect mix of folks, both those who have used our tools in the past and new users, so we're really excited to be able to share these updates with you. In particular, what we're going to talk about today really reflects perhaps the largest overhaul of design that we've made in a couple of years. And really, it paves the way to future enhancements with this tool that we have. So in general, really trying to make sure we continue to arm our clients with all the tools they need to understand and manage their health plans. And so looking at the agenda today, what we want to do is talk about what's changed with this large refresh that Kavi and his team has led for us. And given that it's the first of the year, we also want to do a quick demo to not only reorient, but also to introduce some of these changes to you and for you to see them a little bit in action. Plus, we're pretty passionate about what comes next. So we definitely want to give you all a sneak peek about what's ahead. And then, as Sharif mentioned, we have lots of time for Q&A, and we'll make sure that we get to some of those for you. Before we dive in, I just really wanted to start with a bit of a reflection. I've actually spent a long time in health benefits, over 30 years. And one of the things I've always come back to when I think about the difference between my work when I was in the traditional health plan world and being with Collective Health is really how we think about products. And when I worked in traditional health plans, really when we talked about products and product changes, they were really geared around health plan products. So for example, HMO products, PPO products, high deductible health plans, dental vision, and any other sort of ancillary products. And really at Collective Health, it's very much of a different sort of mindset. When we talk about products, we talk about the tools that we develop, not only to empower your members, but to empower you as clients and as consultants and brokers to manage the huge investment you're making in employee health, both through your health plans and through the ecosystems that you've designed to meet your own success metrics. So really, it's more than just plan design. It's about the experiences we design for you and your people. And really what we want to do today is talk about how we arm your team with what you need to manage that. So really what we're going to do is go through this dedicated analytics and reporting tool and really focus on several key use cases that we see our clients and consultants use most frequently, which is to monitor eligibility and enrollment elections, really see who's on your plans and which plans they've selected, to track claims and spend activity, and to download key reports and documents that we house in this tool. And so with that, what we'd like to do is really turn it over to you, Kavi, and to have you talk through what the recent updates are to this analytics and reporting suite, and introduce what's exciting, what gets you excited every day about the work that you come to Collective Health to do.
Awesome. All right. Well, just to set the stage a little bit, we've spent a while taking feedback from all of you folks on the phone, as well as the rest of our client partners and consultant and broker partners. And I think we've put together a pretty ambitious roadmap to substantially improve our tools steadily over time for all of you. And so what I think this launch represents is our first major deliverable on that road. In order to add a bunch of new functionality, we needed a really strong foundation. And that's kind of what released in December that you're here to hear about today. We wanted to do a couple major things. Go on to the next slide. First is it's a complete redesign of our employer portal. So the UI design is updated across the whole site. And we've done that with the goal in mind of making sure that you have the information you need available, making sure that it's easy to navigate that site and find the information you need when you need it, and also setting us up with room to grow, since we have a point of view on what's coming up in the future, and we want to make sure we layer in information steadily in a way that works over time. And under the hood, we've also done a complete rebuild of our front end. So this will be less something we talk about today, but that's really about setting us up for the future in terms of rate of progress. So we wanted to make sure that our engineering systems are set up well, that we're going to have good data pipelines, accuracy, in order to make sure we can iterate quickly. The second point I wanted to call out is as we've grown, we've gotten to meet a lot of new clients, and different clients have different team setups. And so as we've evolved, we found that we need to evolve the way that we provide information to all of you to make sure that the right people have access to the right information. And so we've layered in some new roles in order to make sure that you can give the right access and not too much to each different person on your teams.
Great. Thanks, Kavi. You know, one of the things I definitely want to mention is a lot of the work that your team does is based on user research, I know. And, you know, I talk a lot about how one of the benefits of being a part of the collective is that we really give our clients' voice a platform. And it informs what we do and what we design really every single day. And so this work that you've done, I know, is really a reflection of how we're constantly evolving, not only this product, but really all products based on feedbacks that we get from folks like those on the phone here. So just definitely wanted to call that out, that a lot of these changes are really because of feedback that we got from you all on the phone today. And we will constantly be looking for additional feedback as we continue to grow as a company. So why don't we see it in action?
Great. Wonderful. So I'm going to go through a quick demo of the new portal. And throughout, we'll stop for a couple of opportunities for Kavi to talk about kind of what's changed, and hope to talk about some of the use cases we see here. Just given the time of year, rather than talk about, you know, what's changed in a slide deck, we thought, why not go through a full demo of the product? So when you first log into the portal, where you land is the People and Plans tab. This is really sort of ground zero for understanding employee enrollments by plan and by benefit that's integrated with Collective Health. So you'll see across medical, dental, vision, by plan, enrollments in terms of eligible employees, as well as percentage of enrollments. This is also probably one of the most pronounced places where you see the user interface change. Kavi, do you want to talk through that a little bit?
Sure. So as I mentioned a moment ago, as we were redesigning the employer portal, we were really thinking about how do we adapt to our different types of client needs, as well as give ourselves room to grow. So the way we kind of approach this is, how do we use design to give us room to provide more data for different types of use cases? I'll just kind of walk through some of the changes, which might be interesting for the folks who have used the previous version of our portal. We've laid out information with medical versus dental versus vision vertically, as you can see on the screen here. And that's given us more room to layer in. If you have many types of plans, we've got space for them. You can see the absolute numbers of enrollments as well as the percentages, which give you the kind of snapshot in terms of percentages as well as exact numbers when you're trying to reconcile against other reports. So that was a kind of a small design tweak that we did to make sure people are able to do the tasks they need to do day to day. We've also moved the search box to the very top of the page. And the idea here is that rather than trying to fit everything on one page, if you're trying to look up enrollment information or debug an issue for a specific employee or dependent, then you can do so, and then we open up new pages to drill right down into it. And all this is kind of high-level statistics information, but we heard loud and clear, as Hope mentioned earlier, that oftentimes you really need to just download a file and see the census for yourself and go through and look at whatever use cases you have. And so we've made that download census button front and center for people who don't want to use our interface. They want to jump in and see the details. One last thing I'll call out on this page is the navigation on the left side of the screen. So even before this launch, we had people, claims, and documents as 3 tabs. They were along the top of the page. We've moved it to the left. And there was one main reason for that. I think just in terms of usability, it's fairly obvious. You can flip through them and see what information is where. But it also gives us, as I had mentioned before, a lot of room to layer in new functionality that'll be coming in over time without adding complexity to the UI. And so you can see that there's little carrots next to the claims header and next to the documents header, which allows us to have that next level of depth as you're drilling into your documents or into your claims information.
Awesome. Thanks, Kavi. I feel a little like Vanna White moving my cursor around, to highlight specific. So let's actually dive into a couple of things you mentioned here. First, you talked about the employee search bar. Hope, I know this is a really common use case for a lot of our clients. Do you want to talk through that a little, and then I can go through some of this?
Sure. I mean, you'll see on some later slides some of the examples of the reports that we post to this portal. And while some of our clients and consultant and broker partners may go in throughout the month to look at some of those reports, really what we hear from our clients is that this sort of information around who's enrolled and verifying coverage and verifying plans that clients that their members have selected is just one of those urgent answers that questions that they need answers to. And so this actually becomes one of our most frequently visited pages on the tool. And as Kavi mentioned, even things like downloading the census and so forth were things that we heard from clients as really sort of a simple enhancement that would really make their day-to-day lives much easier. So I view this as something that folks visit quite frequently for all sorts of really immediate need questions that need answers.
So let's actually go through an example of that. So you imagine I've got a member who walks in my office. They have questions about their enrollments. I can search for them here. I can start by, for example, searching their last name, Smith. And then when I see Adam right here, his name shows up. I can click. I can see Adam's, some basic information about Adam, his elections, as well as his dependents and what they've elected. For example, I can see that Adam is actually on our Cobra plan. He's left the company, but clear indicator at the top, so I don't have to search around to understand that sort of information. And this is really, to Kavi's point, part of our effort to make it easier to find information. As many of you on the phone know, our clients span all sizes, and so a good search function is really key to making it easy to find specific members and their needs. So I'll actually jump now to talk through some of the other functionality in this navigation bar. So first I'll move to the claims tab. And claims today is where you see across, again, all your integrated benefits with Collective Health, whether it's medical or dental or vision, you'll see claims costs that have been incurred and processed. So this is a nearly real-time view of that information. At the top of the screen, you'll see kind of total costs and total per member per month costs, as well as you can connect out to some of our reporting about large claimants. And then you can drill down a little bit here. So you can look at whether claims costs are medical, across medical or professional fees versus inpatient or outpatient facility fees. Similarly across pharmacy, is it brand, generic, or specialty? And that same logic applies across dental and vision as well. And this is actually an area where this tool will continue to evolve. Before the end of the webinar, Kavi will show a quick sneak peek of some of our new Claims Insights features that'll be coming to this page, but really exciting stuff on the horizon here. Perhaps one of the second most common use case for clients is the Documents tab. And this is really our repository where everything from our monthly standard analytics suite is posted, as well as for clients who have elected our financial management and payment suite, their weekly funding summaries, for example, find their way here. I know this is another place where your team spends a lot of time sharing information with clients in a collaborative way. Can you talk through some of those use cases?
Sure. Certainly arming you all with the data that you need to report both internally and to your executives to demonstrate that your plan is working and to be able to highlight that you understand what's happening with your claim spend. And our team works very hard and frequently with folks on your teams to be able to bring this information to you. So at the very least, what we do is we post all of these reports. And again, hearkening back to my experience with the traditional carrier, reports like these were often delivered to our clients far later in the month than when we deliver them. We post these by the 5th business day of the month, which I know a lot of our clients and consultants and broker partners really appreciate being able to have that earlier in the month. But as Sharif mentioned, really our standard reports that are part of our standing reporting suite are posted here. But in addition, this is where we'll put things like ad hoc reports. So when you come to us and you have a request of your team to get some additional deep dive or some other sort of special cut of data, we'll post it here so that it's all in one place and easy to access for you and to download for your needs. We envision this documents page actually housing a large number of documents in the future. It might include things like communications plans or other things that we agree on hosting here in this tab. But really, this analytics page right now is perhaps one of the most widely used and important pages on the Documents tab.
Great. So perhaps, hearkening back to Kavi's comment about what's changed, perhaps one of the most pronounced changes is how we organize access. Yeah. So every user has an account tab where they can go and change their password, for example. But if you're an administrator on the portal, this is actually where you can go to add team members and set access limits for your team members. And this is a really important feature of the tool. I think one of the earliest things we recognized was the need to safeguard data and ensure the right folks have access to the right cuts of data. And so as an administrator, you have that flexibility to say when you're adding a new team member, for example, what level of access do they need? And this is a place where we've added new user roles. So actually, Kavi, why don't we talk through what those new user roles look like?
Sure. So I'll kind of talk through the table you see on the screen, starting with the leftmost column, and then that's what the roles we used to have, and then the middle column, which is the current version. So previous to this launch, we had 3 types of user access roles. So you can see at the very top, full PHI plus admin, second is full PHI, and then third is limited PHI. And the basic idea here is that those first 2, full PHI and full PHI plus admin, have access to everything across the entire employer portal, with the difference being that as an admin, you can add or remove other users and change their permissions. And there's a limited PHI role where you could see the various reports, including claim statistic summaries that are published in our reports, but not the rest of the product. And this was based on a presumption that anyone who has access to the most sensitive PHI data that you could think of as individual user enrollments would therefore, it would be reasonable for them to have access to everything else in the portal. And what we've found through feedback is that teams are not always set up that way. And so we've added 2 new roles in order to capture different types of typical user roles. And so you can see we still got the administrator, if I'm looking at the middle column, we still got the administrator role like before. We still got a full PHI role called full. And we've added these 2 new ones, claims, just right here, as well as people, just right here. And the idea here is that someone who has claims access is someone that can see all of our tooling, including the reports and the claims page around claim statistics, but they cannot see individual people enrollments. So this could be relevant for a consultant or broker type of user, or some folks on the HR team, potentially some on the finance team. On the other hand, the people role right here can see access to individual user enrollments, so all that people page that you saw earlier, but cannot see access to the claim statistics. And so this could potentially be for someone who is on the HR team who's dealing with escalations from their members or dependents, but not giving them access to all the claim statistics, which isn't relevant to their job. And then at the bottom, we've got the limited PHI role, which we now call documents, and that's because they have access to the documents that are uploaded with limited claim stats information and not people enrollment information.
Great, thanks, Kavi.
All right, where do we go from here? So just talking a little bit about the future, I kind of said this at the beginning. I thought of this as our first major launch towards an ambitious roadmap that we've got going throughout this year and into the future. So we're super excited about what's to come. I'll speak to it kind of briefly, and then I'll leave it in the Q&A for folks to kind of ask any questions they want, and I'll respond to the best of my ability about what is to come. I'm definitely excited about what's coming and excited about any feedback you guys have on how we prioritize our efforts as well. The next big leap that's coming is all about our claims features. And so what we've got right now, you just got to see is summary information about medical claims cut by service category as well as cut by drugs. And so what we intend to add is a few new classes of information. So we're going to have things cut by clinical categories as well. So rather than just inpatient, outpatient, professional, and then subcategories, clinical categories means maternity or behavioral health or musculoskeletal, and then subcuts within that. We'll have more detail on drugs than we have today. And also we'll be adding a lot of new ways to slice and dice that data depending on your use case. So whether you want to look at all the information together, whether you want to look at a specific medical plan, whether you want to look cut by your subgroup within a particular company, which is often referred to as subsidiaries, whether you'd like to see something reported on an incurred basis or a processed basis, as well as adding in benchmarks and overall summaries. You can see on this screenshot overall summaries, because that's a lot of information we're adding. What are the most interesting things to drill into, because they're moving in terms of driving costs up or down versus the previous year. So it's a lot of new information, and we're hard at work on it, and will be coming soon.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things I think that's most exciting to me about some of these new Claims Insights features is it's one thing to say that maternity costs are a cost driver for us as a business today, but being able to drill down to say, well, is it that specific conditions or diagnoses are driving costs today? Is it specific settings of care that are driving costs, or specific facilities, right? Those kind of early questions enable me to think about, well, what is the real question I'm asking? Where might I want to dig in further? But it's really kind of peeling back those first few layers to say, where is it right to invest my time and energy in further analysis, right?
Absolutely.
I have a question for you, Kavi. I know we're going to open it up to Q&A, but I know that today some of the reports our clients use a lot in our standard reporting suite are around member engagement, and in addition to claims, really understanding how their members are engaging with our different tools, digitally or portal on a member portal basis. Lots of folks are very interested in understanding how their partner ecosystem is being utilized. Curious if you could share with folks what's coming in terms of how we demonstrate the success of that ecosystem that they're building.
This gets to the ambitious roadmap that
Yeah.
you mentioned
Yeah.
before.
Okay,
No
so-
sneak peek, but
Yeah.
just our
Yeah.
vision for how we bring
Yeah.
really more sophisticated self-serve tools and analysis and insights to our clients.
Sure thing. So yeah, I kind of spoke to what's coming, the next major leap besides the one we're speaking about today. I hope what you're kind of getting at is what's the next major thing right after that. And so one of the big things that that is top of mind for us is we wanted to make sure we were layering in what is driving your costs up or down with this launch, and being able to, with this upcoming launch, and be able to see where do I need to drill down, and how do I easily do this in whatever way that you want to cut the data in order to form a hypothesis about what can be improved and how. And the next step after that, so then we're thinking about later on this year, is, okay, if I had a hypothesis and I chose to take some sort of action. So let's say that we set up a new program partner or Benefits Plus partner that is going to be used for a certain type of service, and we believe that the health outcomes for that service should get better and the cost associated with that service should get lower as a result. Then we want to add tracking for that to see, okay, how many people are using that service across your membership, what is driving them to use that service, and then what were the outcome metrics, either cost oriented or health outcome oriented. So that's kind of like the next stage, and that's really focused on how are we getting to not just understanding what's going on, which is already not an easy problem, but how do you take action and see whether the actions you took worked.
Right. That's sort of like the holy grail, quite frankly. I think it's what clients are really looking for is how do we actually demonstrate that the hypothesis or the strategy we put in place is actually working.
Absolutely.
I put you on the spot there, so thank you for answering that question.
And we didn't rehearse that beforehand, folks. So that was an honest answer on the spot.
There you go. So really wanted to make sure that we shared all of these important updates with you. And as I mentioned, really sort of set the stage for what we're doing to deliver on sort of that more sophisticated self-serve capability through our employer portal. And so we've gone through a lot of information really at a high level, and I think now we're going to open it up to Q&A. And we did get a few that came in while while we were talking. So
so first question, this one's probably a good one for you, Kavi. Is it possible to add enrollment history into the employer portal?
Great question. So yeah, the product we have right now shows snapshot in time in terms of enrollments. When you download the census, you can actually see what has happened in the past as well. So anyone who was on a plan until earlier in the current calendar year will be listed in that census file that is downloaded, as well as someone who has a end date that's upcoming within the year, or folks that are joining in the next year if you've provided that information from your Ben Admin system. So all of that is in the product today. I think there's a next layer of capabilities that we're considering for the future, just being able to do sort of a time machine view where you can snapshot any moment in time, even going back further than the current calendar year, as well as those moments of change where something is looking a certain way right now, but we're not sure if 3 weeks ago it looked that same way. So that's something we're exploring for the future.
Yeah, I know a common question we get from employers who are making the jump to or making the move to collective health is, can I load my historical data in? And I think that may also be sort of the essence of some of this question.
Yeah, that's true. So there's enrollment history as well as claims history and being able to track information.
Yeah. One kind of, I guess, broad question for you, which is when you think about building tools like this one, what are some of the biggest challenges that you and your team work through to ship new products?
Yeah, it's a broad question. I think there's two high-level big challenges that we are kind of continually trying to solve. One is we're pulling a lot of data together often from disparate sources, sometimes error prone. There can be mistakes that come in through the data, and we have to find the right ways to clean it, to reconcile one data source with another data source and pull it all together into one holistic view. So I think a big part of the challenges and where effort goes is in those underlying data pipelines that makes it, once you have that set up correctly, easier to be able to visualize the information and present it in a way that's useful. Maybe that's the biggest challenge. The other kind of high-level challenge is that people have very different views about what might or might not solve fundamental problems. Healthcare is filled with some big challenges. How do you, at its heart, manage your trend? How do you help people with better health outcomes when there's not widely accepted standards for how you judge what's working or not working, and what are the best ways to achieve whatever goals you have? And so we're kind of pushing on the vanguard of the tooling to be able to make those decisions without always knowing beforehand what the answers will be once the tools are built. And so there's an evolutionary process, I think, for showing some information, seeing how everyone plays with it, and then figuring out what would be the next most useful thing to surface in order to help people solve their problems better than before. That kind of spoke to this roadmap that I spoke to earlier. Of first, we needed a strong foundation to layer information, so we launched. And then next, coming up, we're going to provide a lot of tooling to help people understand what is going on under the hood, very easy to digest way. And then the next phase is, okay, let's see the results based on the hypotheses that you had and then the programs you implemented.
Awesome. We have a question that came in really around this topic of how should you think about using a data warehouse, for example, versus our tools. And maybe I can offer my thoughts and then please both of you chime in. I think the way I often think about it is we have clients who before joining Collective Health had spent the time and energy to build out a data warehouse where they might be bringing together more than just their health benefits data, but also some data on ancillaries. And so in those situations, we're happy to be a partner in providing data to continue to sort of feed that repository. But what I most often find is for most clients, the functionality of a full data warehouse is not particularly useful to their most common use cases. And in fact, what they really need more of is kind of a data workshop. And that, in a lot of ways, I think that's what our tools will be able to provide, which is for your health benefits data, a place where you can begin to slice and dice and look at different visualizations of the data, but then from there, download the right reporting to dig in further. Is that how you think about it as well, Kavi?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting topic. Thanks for whoever posted the question. I think there's two parts to it. So one is, how do we make sure that the tooling we're building allows our clients, our consultants, and our brokers to answer as many questions as possible? But the other is, to the extent that you have a different tool that you're using or you really appreciate, to make sure that we're making that doable as well. So I think there is a good question here on what is the best way for us to be able to provide that export capability for the specific tools people want to use when they have a particular use case that our tools don't support, as well as whatever they're used to using. So I think that is worthy of follow-up discussions to make sure we set things up for you correctly.
Mm-hmm. We have another question here around, clients and consultants are always trying to avoid surprises. And so what opportunities are there to push alerts to clients or their consultant regarding things like large claimants, for example? Hope maybe it's helpful. Can you talk through a little bit of some of the work that's been done to date here, Kavi, if you have some thoughts here?
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear your response as it relates to whether or not how our employer portal will do this work. But we do have clients. I mean, getting a heads up on a large claim coming through is pretty important. And my team does do work in advance of what we might do on an automated basis and through our tooling. For those clients that really need to make sure that they get that information in advance or at least in real time as we're processing some of those claims. We do create processes where we can support high-cost claimant notifications and other sort of ad hoc or customized approaches to letting clients know when a high-cost claimant might be coming down the pike, either through getting prior authorization information or other indicators that we might want to make sure we flag a client on.
Yeah.
Curious what's happening on the automation front. Copy
Yeah,
with,
I agree with everything Hope you just said. I think we've already got this large claimant notification report that gets generated whenever there's a claim. I think some of the features that I was just previewing coming up will help to start to give a better view of what is to come in terms of large claimants that have generated some amount of spend, but they're likely in a trajectory to generate more spend in the future, so we have more visibility into that. But I think this is something where whoever is on the phone that's particularly interested in this can work closely with your client success partner and make sure that we're getting you the information you need on a timely basis.
Yep.
This does raise, I think, a good question, which is, you both spoke to the use of user research. And so for folks on the line who would love to offer feedback, what opportunities exist to do that, and what's the right sort of mechanism?
Yeah. Well, we partner very closely within client success with our user research team. It's one of the things that's fascinated me being here at Collective Health, is really having a lens to see how powerful the user research arm is here. There are often quarterly themes that our user research team plans for and invites clients to participate in providing feedback on. And clients and frankly consultants and brokers are welcome to, first of all, proactively let me know that they'd be interested in participating in this user research. We do consistently really reach out to those folks we think are interested in a particular topic and invite them to participate. But, if there are some folks on the phone who are out there and haven't had a chance to participate, I would strongly encourage you to work with us in client success and let us know, particular areas where you would like us to provide, get your feedback on. In the past, we have done these not only in terms of our product offerings, so our member digital tools, our employer portal. We've had some sessions with a number of consultants and brokers specifically on the reporting suites and the data that we use and what we can do to continually improve, arming them with the data they need to serve their clients. The topics are wide and the opportunities are frequent. So really would be excited to have more and more of our clients participate.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think one of the things we talk about a lot as a team is getting feedback is one thing, but what you do with it is what matters. And so to that end, I would say I encourage everyone on the line to offer feedback to their client success partners because that feedback does make its way to our teams on a bi-weekly basis. Kavi and myself and members of the client success team meet to talk through feedback we receive from clients, begin to bucket it against themes that we're already working against. So we do take all of that really seriously, and it does inform how we prioritize our work.
One other mechanism that we use within client success is a satisfaction survey from our clients. We just launched our Q4 satisfaction survey, which I know we're all recovering from 1/1 go live, but really we want to look back to the end of last year and understand how things went based on your expectations versus execution. And we really do take a look at the survey results and the comments you provide to share internally to continually improve. So the design of that survey has evolved over time and will continue to evolve to provide us with the actionable insights that we need to improve not only our team's performance, but also our performance as a company. So really welcome you to and invite you and hope you'll respond to that survey for our clients on the phone.
Great. Well, I think those are all the questions that have come in. So with that, thank you for joining us today. We hope this was helpful. As I mentioned at the start, we have been recording the session and we will share that around for you to be able to share with colleagues who couldn't make it today. Hope, Kavi, any final thoughts before we sign off?
I'm really happy to have gotten to join all of you, and even this discussion I treat as a feedback session to the question about how to provide feedback. And I've taken notes in terms of follow-up explorations around data warehousing tools and enrollment history as well. So Thank you.
Great. And then just as a final comment from the client success perspective, our team is ready to continue to offer additional onboarding sessions with you. I know some introductory sessions were done in December, and as data refreshes after this first months of reports, they're prepared to come back and to go over the tools with you or your team members again. So please come to your client success team for ongoing support in how to best use these tools and leverage them to help answer the questions that you have around the hypotheses you have with your healthcare plan.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone.